Hello, I am Becca. You are watching Rue's Musings. This week I was really moved by something that happened in one of my classes. Two women showed up, one with a broken-ish elbow, fractured elbow, and another who had just gotten over being really, really sick. And they both showed up to class and individually pulled me aside and just said, hey, this is going on, my elbow's going on, but I'm going to do what I can. And she explained what she could do inside of her wrist. And the woman who was sick said, I don't know how this is going to go today, but I wanted to show up, and I might not go full throttle for everything inside of all the poses. And I was really moved by this idea that yoga absolutely is willing to meet us wherever we are. And I'm proud that at Play Yoga, I hope we've cultivated and facilitated an environment where that is absolutely true. So inside of that class, I was happy to help these women. The class was small, and I checked with everybody that people were into it being a little bit gentler, and I tried to keep us off of our hands for the woman with her elbow. And I love this. I love that we can show up to our practice regardless of how we're feeling, or I should say more specifically, regardless of how whole or not that we're feeling. And wholeness is something I talk about a lot. The word for whole in Sanskrit is purna or purnatva. And a distinction that yoga makes that I think is so important and really a change for our head is we're not whole. Yoga says we're not whole despite our weaknesses or our vulnerabilities or our flaws or our injuries or our illnesses. We are whole actually because of them. So I think that that's such an important thing to try to get your head around, that wholeness and perfection are sincerely not the same thing in my mind. Wholeness encapsulates all of you, and it takes into consideration all of the work that we're here to do. I think we forget that a lot, that we're in these bodies on this planet to learn and to grow and to experience the pulse of things, not just to be shiny, happy rainbows and perfect smiles and perfect bodies and perfect jobs and perfect families and perfect houses. That's not what we're here to do. So I'm excited that at Play Yoga and the inside of yoga in general, we have a space where we can come to when we're not what we would consider 100%. And I work with a number of people who are in wheelchairs, and they're so profoundly inspiring to me about doing the work to still feel whole. And I know some of us silly people, we feel not whole if we have a pimple or if we bruise our toe or if we, strain our shoulder for a second, and it's easy to get into that whole story about how we're not complete because we have this injury or because we're under the weather or because we have a disease. All of these things that it's the human experience that we all experience. Guaranteed. There's no person alive who never experiences not being at 100%. And that yoga is there for us regardless. We can transform our practice to meet us wherever we are. If we're in a wheelchair, if we're sick, if we're injured, if we're vulnerable, if we're sad, if we're elated, it really is willing to meet us if we meet it. I'm not saying it's just super simple. I had another student whose husband broke his hand, and she was wondering about him still going to classes. And there's yoga, absolutely, that we can practice. There are classes is one thing, but then to try to figure out your own practice, especially with one of us, I'm always happy to help you guys. If there's some limitation that you have, I'm happy to teach you how to still have your yoga practice. And yoga obviously is bigger than the postures, but even the postures will meet us wherever we are. And I don't know if that's necessarily true with some of the other physical activities that we would do with, running. If you break your foot, you can't run. I guess there are things. You can lose a foot and still run. So there are things that, we can do to make running meet us as well. But yoga's really just willing to do that. I'm so moved by that. I think it's so beautiful that we can practice no matter what. No matter what. That's awesome. Please share this video with your friends if that moves you. If you're moved by it the way I am, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.